All right, I'll do that. Go for it.
Live.
What is up? We are live. Carpets and coffee at midnight.
At
Well,
night.
Yeah. Carpets and cocktails, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
You can
I've
drink
got
coffee
a
at
little.
night.
This is it's a different kind of coffee.
There
Beer
you go.
coffee.
That's the good kind.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I bet you I was
Well-
gonna look real quick to see if it is. Well, see, right now in Australia, it's morning. It's like 9 a.m. So
Hey. Okay.
there you go.
Well, there you go. It's coffee time somewhere, and it's always carpet time. So we're
That's
still
right.
on brand. It's all good.
Yeah, it's everything is right. I got some people, carpets and cocktails. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of it's good to be back behind the mic. Last night we did a joint.
You made it back to civilization.
Yeah. What a trip, man. Holy crap. It was nice. Good times. Saw lots of buzz tails and all that kind of stuff, which is always fun. Yeah, I didn't realize how much I like those. So
Oh yeah, man. I mean, especially out where you were, there's so many different kinds, and getting the photo play-by-play over our chat was
yeah. We had some crazy times. Not enough sleep. You eat like shit. You do it for a week, and then you come back, and you got to go back to the normal life, and it's kind of hard to. I'm having a hard time. Me and Justin were talking. It's like us old guys are like having a hard time getting back into the swing of things, you know. But yeah,
what's
overall,
what's the tricky part? Is it sleep? Is it
I think so.
Levels?
Yeah, you know, like between the podcast and then the snakes and work and all that kind of stuff, it's catching up, I guess, with all that stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, overall it was well worth it though, because
that's awesome.
Yeah, those guys were awesome. It was good to hang out with Phil and Justin. We did hang out with Justin before, as you can imagine. Picked his brain a little bit about the new book,
Oh, yeah.
the new carpet book,
Come out of it with any good little secret nuggets that you can't share yet?
Yeah, he gave me a couple nuggets, but I can't share them. But it's going to be an awesome book. I can't wait. I cannot wait to dive into it. It should be really cool. Riley quit.
He's getting his stuff sorted. He's got new geckos. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what dark guys? Okay.
Oh,
yeah. What was it?
I was gonna say, what was your favorite find? Can you pin that down?
Probably the blacktail rattlesnake.
And what was the story of that?
So we were, we went and sort of, we tried a bunch of different things herping this time. Whereas in the past we kind of like would herp together. This one we kind of split into groups, and Rob and Justin Smith went up to one cut, and we came down around this other cut, which was like one side was a wall and the other side was some cuts. So I walked the cuts and Justin walked the wall, and within like 2 minutes he's just like, rattlesnake, and it almost got away, and the poor guy went to dive for it and just got his arm stuck with barbed wire, so he had to take care of that. Which wasn't which was exciting. Yeah. So he was determined to get that snake, so it was all good. What we do to get a picture of a snake. But we got that, and then within I think maybe 20 minutes, that's when we found our first atrox. So 2 rattlesnakes in one thing. The doctor, as we now call him, was on fire.
That's awesome. Yeah.
We kept calling him Doc so we could separate him between him and Justin. So, but yeah, man, all good times. So
that's great. I'm jealous.
Yeah, next time you guys got to go. I would have. I really suck at video, man. I really suck at taking video.
That's all right.
I took some and then I look back at it and I'm just like, oh man, this is this is shitty. Like it's all wobbly and stuff. But there's probably some salvageable stuff there. But
right on. Yeah, we'll comb through it. But yeah, I mean, one of these trips, it'll be a dedicated filming person. Make sure it's all good.
That's right. Yes. Can't wait. So
Yeah.
I don't think, as far as coming back, I don't think I'm getting diamond python eggs. So that's kind of a bummer, but that is what it is.
Right. I wonder. I mean, because they were locking up a bit, right? And
yeah.
Just maybe reabsorbed or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was when you're breeding species like that for the first time, it's kind of can be tricky. Wow, they got a whole bunch of names for us.
Yeah,
man.
there's a lot of good ones.
Carpets in calligraphy, simple yet sophisticated. Morelia at midnight.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's good. That's all good stuff. Serpents after sunset. Yeah, but
Bed blackhead.
yeah, man,
Blackheads before bed.
I like it. Yeah. So what about you, man? Did you get the let's see, is Riley ready? Let's get him in here.
Aha!
There he is. Did you get Brettle eggs yet or no? Or
Not
Bredley?
yet. Yeah, the most pregnant of the 3 pregnant ones. Her 30 days post pre-lay shed is going to be a little less than 2 weeks from now. So it really could happen at any point, I guess, if she's early. And she's terrifyingly large. She's having she's basking inverted. Like she looks uncomfortable. And when she tries to move around, it's kind of funny. It's like, there's a lot going on in there. And the other 2, they're definitely looking gravid, but not like that at all. So I'm really interested to see the difference in clutch size between the 3. I have no reference, right? Because it's my first time doing this kind of thing, but just from judging from her size, I really wouldn't be surprised if she laid like 30 eggs. I don't know.
Oh,
maybe I'll look back and be an idiot. Maybe there's like 15 really big ones, but I don't know.
You got a Mcintyre clutch. Oh, snap.
Well, I think I said on one of these shows, like even when I sent Nick a picture of her ovulation, he was like, "Oh, damn! Like it looks like it's going to be a big clutch too." And it's like if Nick's saying that, and yeah, I don't know.
Oh man,
you're in trouble
up there, Riley.
I did
what's up?
Correct though, so less trouble.
Nice. Oh, I can see that.
Good.
Another one.
Good. Oh, all right. It's 110 degrees here. I'm dying.
Yeah.
I apologize if you can hear the fan right here, but I'm not turning that off.
I am also sitting next to AC.
Freaking hot.
It's not that hot here, but I feel your pain, fellas.
I was telling Eric,
you were out there in Arizona probably feeling a lot hotter than we are right now, I'm sure. Or Texas, excuse me.
Yeah, it was 115, something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You were telling me
Eric, I was in the field this morning. I got up, crack of dawn to go work, and they canceled work a few hours in because of the conditions. It was all the fire thresholds got triggered, and you can't operate that machinery anymore. One spark would light up the entire Oakland, hills. So that's about it.
No, really. Yeah, we were just at the Roseville show, and the vendors are like, if you're leaving, go straight to your car. Be really careful because it's brutally hot out there. It was like 114 when I walked out. I was like, this is not fun.
Yeah, it's not hard to get dehydrated and get heat illness and that kind of heat. It's very
I brought my my Camelback that I got for Australia, filled that up with water and was chugging on that, and then I brought a couple beers and was drinking beers walking around the show.
Well, that didn't help, but okay.
Helped me. It didn't help anybody else. I don't know what they're talking about.
There you go. Cool.
But, yeah, fun.
I guess real quick, we'll just there was a question from Ben in the chat, and he just said, "Can we hit on the topic of what temps to keep diamond jungles at?" And so my approach with them, I think I said it was Riley that said same as regular carpet temps.
Maybe turn
pretty
off
much.
night heat.
Yeah, I just kind of kept them lower to the ground, so it's just naturally cooler. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
I thought that would be trickier than it was, but nah, not really. So
They're nothing like true diamonds as far as they're sensitive to heat stuff.
no, I don't think so.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't see many Morelia at the show today, by the way.
No?
I saw one table that had 2 random jags that weren't even labeled. I saw a table with 1 baby Bredli on it.
Nice. From this year or last year?
This year.
That's
or no, it had to have been from last year.
okay. I was gonna say, how late am I? Jesus.
No, it had to have been from last year. But otherwise, this show was actually heavily dominated by like obscure stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Like there was a table or a booth that had like tarantulas and plants and weird imports, and then they had 1.2 little baby California red-sided garter snakes on it for $800 a baby. I was like, is that legal?
Whoa!
If they have the paperwork,
She didn't have the paperwork.
then no.
They were
Then
wild
it's
caught.
illegal.
We asked her. She wanted to sell wild caught
For
Red.
800?
800 a piece.
Okay, see, yeah. I'll
They're
pretend.
not the San Franciscos, but they're Californias.
Yes, still.
And she's selling them in California
I'll pretend
without a captive bred wildlife permit.
California field biology.
Well, I encouraged my friend, I was like, you should just go over there in strong armor and buy them for $50 a piece and tell her you won't tell Fish and Wildlife.
I mean,
get $2,400 in snakes for next to nothing because you won't rat her out.
rock solid strategy. Yeah, that's
No, but anyway, yeah.
like big problem.
Yeah.
But there was a surprising amount of African imports. A lot of plated lizards.
Oh, those
A lot of actually quite a fair amount of Madagascan species of lizards. A lot of North African stuff. I may or may not have come home with 1.3 crocodile geckos from Egypt.
Very cool.
One of which is gravid.
Oh,
Now, is that personal collection or?
Yeah, that's for me.
Okay.
So you know how I was getting all curious about the Pictus geckos, like, oh, they stay under 5 inches and they're prolific and this and that.
Uh-huh.
Well, here's a gecko that stays under 5 inches but has spikes all over it. Lives in the deserts of Egypt. Likes, warm, dry temperatures, rock crevices, crickets, the whole nine. Basically, just like the Pictus geckos, but from Egypt, just drier and hotter and spikier. And they reminded me of the Eurorachnoides, the spider-tailed horn viper from Iran in color and shape, and I'm like, there's something to that region up there. And Justin's in the chat right now at Point Buxer. That's Justin. We just went there, and there were some scrubs there. Here, let's see. I took some photos. There were a lot of like one-off little patternless Meraki's on a few tables here and there. They like some fresh imports. Some of them look real fresh. There was a huge Australian fuscus there that was $800. Some paradise flying snakes, some Dasypeltis. There were some northern white-lip babies that didn't have a price on them. Oh, Eric, there was an Australian tree skink that Justin found that Justin's like, Riley, we got to go look at this tree skink. This totally reminds me of Eric. And it was gray, a little lined. It has lines on it. It's probably, I don't know, tip to tail, 6-7 inches long. Kind of looked like a lot of the North American like 5-line skinks, but a little bit chubbier, a little chunkier, and like kind of a silvery gray, charcoaly black and blue stripe. And I was like, do I?
Is that the one you posted in our chat?
Yeah, I sent that in there. I was like,
okay,
because Justin was like, you got to send a photo of this to Eric. So
yeah, man. Heck yeah.
But it was interesting. It was cool.
I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, like that would be a lizard you would set up in like a nice 40-gallon or something with some vertical tree branches. Give it like bark sleeves to hide in and out of, and just loose bugs in there periodically and watch it hunt. That'd be fun.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah.
Sweet.
I don't know if I really told you guys this, but I was talking about this last night on the live stream. Was my plan for my wife to fall in love with the blue tongue skink worked.
Nice.
So she took care of it when I was gone,
Yeah.
and I come back and she's like, "Oh, this thing is so cool," and I'm like, "Well, it is kind of a mini dachshund with scales, so you know, I mean, it kind of fits the mold." You know, and she's like, "Can I name it?" I said, "You can name it, but I am not going to say its name." I mean, like, you can call it whatever you want.
Well, that's
you got the hooks in.
Yeah, so she's in, and she likes the Ackies too. Surprisingly, I was
Nice.
she enjoys like the I guess the interaction that they have as opposed to snakes and stuff. So
Got to get her a frilly next.
Yeah, you know, how
Some
cool would that
Boyd's
be?
Forest dragons or something.
I like those Australian water dragons, man, especially those males that look all like, you know,
Big orange and the flex stand there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riley knows I fell in love with the little Quince Monitor at the shop the last couple weeks. I've been.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it sleeps in my pocket while I'm at the register.
Yeah, he's the coolest lizard. He'll dive right into your breast pocket and just like whoop, take a nap.
Yeah, eyes
Oh
closed.
wow,
Ooh.
that's
It's
pretty
so
awesome.
cute. It doesn't
Whereas-
bite, but it
Whereas I go to grab the male blackthroat and the thing bites me right on the middle finger. Oh, bastard.
That's not fun.
it's not what you want.
No.
I mean, as soon as it makes sense, I want things with legs.
Yeah, it's definitely
irresistible.
it's definitely different. What I would kill for a boy, yeah, I saw them in the wild. It was pretty cool, you know, seeing one of them. Boyd's Forest Dragon.
Yeah, Hypsilurus boydii or something like that.
Yeah. So we got another question here. We'll start diving into some carpet
Yeah,
talk.
let's do it.
I haven't talked carpets in weeks.
You've been
We're talking
busy
about rattlesnakes. and,
Yeah.
you know, all this colubrids and yeah, not my lane, man, but very cool. What are some jungle bloodlines each of you don't have but would try to work with, and what would the project be?
I'll go
Ones we
first.
don't have.
Go ahead.
Lucas, you can answer
I
that.
don't have any of them. But what I would love to work with are tullies or gelatins.
Mm,
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just want to do locality.
mhm.
I don't really want to do morphs with jungles.
Do you have to? I mean, you really don't have to, right?
No, you don't have to.
I think for me, I would kill for like some real old school Larry Black, or like some LASIK line stuff. Yeah, that would be, and of course the MIAs. I would like to probably add them into the group, but yeah, that would be it for me.
I've had Palmerstons in the past. I moved them out. Not really sure why.
They're like striped, man.
Yeah, I know. I had a nicely banded one and a nicely striped one, and I don't remember why I got rid of them. There's a lot of lines I don't have. There's a lot of lines out there. I have MIA stuff. I have AAR line stuff. I have stuff from There's CoverGirl. Was it Poster Child? No, it's CoverGirl. That's the one I'm thinking of. But there's a lot of line. I don't have anything from like David Hastings stuff, or I have some stuff that's got like Chouette and Larry Black in there, but yeah, like high percentage Larry Black, or would be really cool with some Doug Price jungles.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I always think about how I can't settle on just one thing and how I need variety. But then I look at folks like Andrew Paris, and he's, not to say he's settled on one thing, but he's found one thing and then is splitting it into all the variety within it. And so he's able to really enjoy jungles and all those lines and just have a ton of stuff. And when you look at just one little lane of it, you realize there's so much in there. And I need all of it. So I just can't focus. That's why I got Egyptian geckos today. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Stay the course. No.
Geckos are okay, right?
Yeah, man. Whatever you want is okay.
As long as you can justify it. Like when I have a Pictus gecko colony, it's justifiable because it's tricky blackhead food for the future.
Yeah, yes. When I have Woma pythons that follow me home, it's justifiable.
Yeah, there you go.
I said so.
Because you're my friend. And I can't shut up about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like Andrew's new approach to the last time I spoke to him, which actually he texted me tonight that it's not the same out there. I guess like the NARBC out in Chicago,
Schaumburg.
It's in a different spot. None of the Morelia guys are there, so it's like not the same for them, you know. So he was texting me saying it's kind of not the same without all the Morelia heads. So I guess they didn't go.
Wow,
you know, which is kind of strange. I don't know if
it's kind of died, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of, I don't know. A lot of us stopped really doing shows, you know. I mean, and then last year was kind of like that just put the nail in the coffin for people, I guess, you know. So,
yeah, that was a bust, big time.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't go on it today. So cool stuff as far as jungles go. There's so much stuff, but I think Andrew's trying to work with animals that have that evil word pure, but like it doesn't have any undocumented animals, let's say. I think that's probably better to say it that way, you know. So
yeah, there's no question marks in what he works with.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Even though lineage is important for carpets, do you feel that it's more important for subspecies like jungles and IJs where lineage brings value?
I don't know if I'd say more important.
It depends who you ask, because what's important to one person is different to another person.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But that being said, what tends to be favored or valued more for its overall contribution to the gene pool? Stuff with lineage. Especially, what's crazy? I was listening to some 2018 episodes, and I was listening to that 2018 episode when Casper was on with you and Owen. Yeah. And he was talking about it then.
Poplin stuff?
Yeah, I can see where I was going. He was talking about how at that time Indonesian imports were already kind of being constricted as far as what was allowed to come in. And he was saying, you can get a little bit now, but it's getting less and less each year. And each year it's going to get harder and harder till 5 years from now or so, it won't be around. And at that time, he's talking about 2023, 5 years. And here we are in 2021 looking at very little Papuan importation. There's honestly more Africa and Madagascar coming in than Papua now that Dan's moved overseas, and maybe that's just what I'm seeing. But I think because we still have the opportunity to get pure imported stuff, keep it pure, the lineage is absolutely crucial for something like Papuans, jungles, and everything else. It's important in a different way. This ship already sailed on those sort of thing.
My counter question for this would be, are there any cases where lineage doesn't add value? Like isn't it kind of valuable across the board?
Morphs, there's no value to lineage. As long as it is what it is, genetically speaking, lineage doesn't mean anything for the most part. I would think.
No, I mean in cases where it is a. Okay, wait. Never mind. Sorry, I had a
lineage
brain
is
fart.
never a hindrance.
No, I was thinking of locality. That was my bad. Brain fart.
I think that's where a lot of times morph breeders sort of miss the mark, and as far as that they don't pay attention to animals. So let's say that even if you're doing morphs and you're not doing crosses, you should try to still keep lineage. I think would definitely be a
100%. 100%. Right? Like if you're just crossing snow, granite, zebra, albino, jag, whatever, knock yourself out. No one's asking, but
yeah. I think it always mattered to me, but I don't think it mattered to the customer, right? I don't think that they really cared about, oh, I used an M-Pen coastal with this. Isn't that cool? They're like, no.
I mean, maybe it just says something more about me being a nerd than anything else, but I loved having the lineage chart for my stonewashed.
So did I.
Even though it's a morph, like it was cool to me to know that my snake was the granddaughter of the original hets. Like that's just cool to, I don't know, maybe I'm just a dork, but
no, I agree. I think it's important when it's pure like that.
Yeah.
When you're talking within one species or subspecies, it still has relevance. For sure.
Well, I think too, even with the crosses, like I would look for specific traits like color. I mean, if you're going to try to make your morph more colorful,
that's true.
More yellow or
improve on an albino citrus tiger,
yeah,
something
absolutely.
like that. Yeah, no, there's that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I think it was interesting. I was listening to Justin and Chuck talk about the whole I forget what the name of the show was exactly, but basically they were talking about the value of, a pure versus a cross type of thing. And,
Hybrids.
Chuck brought up a good point. A good point that I never thought of in as far as we sort of give a bad name to the hybrid part of it. And I guess if you don't really necessarily if you're just looking for a pet, does it matter? And then that person, it was sort of like, I don't know. His point was it's sort of like you have somebody new that's coming into the hobby and they get a pet carpet and they sort of get, a cross or whatever it would be. And, that question comes, what is my carpet python and all that kind of stuff that comes along with it. However, like we kind of like immediately go on the defense because we're tired of answering that same question over and over and over again. But I think his point was, it's like we sort of have made that a bad word, that whole, whether it's SIB or whether it's, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I don't know.
Morph byproducts.
Yeah, kind of thing. And it was like, well, they can be beautiful too. So
absolutely.
If you just want a pet.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that we as folks within the community have is that we see the negative potential in something like that and see how if somebody acquires that animal and doesn't maintain the information accurately, that it could cause misrepresentation and dilution and impurity problems down the line and this and that. However, after listening to that episode of Reptile Fight Club with Chuck and Justin talking about the hybrids and things like that, and kind of getting into that nitty gritty of those byproducts and the SIBs and stuff, I don't think anybody would disagree that some of those animals are the exact first experience for people getting into Morelia, because they're the $100 affordable pet generic carpet, whether it be at a shop or show or whatever, that somebody finally takes the plunge on, and then it opens up their world, and then they decide whether to go deeper down the rabbit hole or not. But it still gets somebody in and gets the conversation started and thinking, and then at that point you hope that they learn what purity and impurity is and the value of breeding and this and that, and they make some informed decisions along the line. And I think there's still value in that for sure.
Do you guys think, and I'm not necessarily saying that I think this, but do you think that the mutt carpets are fine for pets argument doesn't tend to grab a lot of traction, perhaps because a lot of people, like how many people actually get a pet, don't care what it is, and keep it for 25 to 30 years?
That's a good question.
Without either A, deciding to sell it, maybe a decade in, or B, they love it so much that they decide to care. And then once they learn more, they discard it because it can't fit into their breeding plans once they move on to that phase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a very good question, because I think we would be silly to sit here and say that doesn't happen. Okay. So we know that does happen. And both of those outcomes sort of end up leaving the animal with the short end of the stick. So there is something to be said for that.
I guess my thought, and I hope that I'm wrong, but my instinctual thought is that I think that it's never a good idea to make those sorts of animals where your intention is, they'll just be a pet. Because I don't know that there's actually that many people out there that are going to have that as a pet and love it for its entire life without, aren't we all sort of driven to know what we have? Like if we nerd out about snakes, isn't it kind of always that logical next step to like want to know what it, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I follow what you're saying. If you see, and I think this is the perspective that we come from, right? Because we're super nerdy about this stuff, right? We're super intense about, lineage and where, who produced it and when they produced it and where did it come from and the history and all this different stuff. And, which is cool for like somebody that's nerdy. I think in today's reptile hobby market, it seems that there's not as much focus on breeding. And I think it's just my thought that maybe the amount of reptile podcasts that are coming out that have sort of moved away from the NPR, style of interview and type of person that you're talking to where, you're talking to somebody about breeding and keeping and, taking care of the eggs and raising up the babies and all this kind of stuff. Where it seems like you have more of a lot of podcasts that kind of focus on, keeping them and the equipment that you need to keep them and ways that you can keep them better. And even to a certain extent, NPR's kind of like moved with not focused. Like, I don't know. In the early days, we were just focused on learning how to breed, and probably selfishly for myself, just because I wanted to talk to everybody and try to pick their brain. Totally. And everybody just got to listen in on those conversations. But I don't know. I think in the earlier days, yeah. And I think of myself, right? I started with a cross. I bought a carpet python at a pet shop, and I had no idea about anything about the subspecies or anything about the morphs or anything about localities or any of that stuff. And I just thought it looked cool, so I bought it. Mm-hmm. And then you start to dive a little bit in and, what is this? I guess diamond jungles were more accepted back then, right? Because there really wasn't a lot of the morphs. So really, if you wanted some designer type of carpet python, that's sort of the route you went. And then when you bred that to a jag, all of a sudden you like intensified it. It was like, holy shit, I think there was a question earlier about what scattershot is, and scattershot is a lineage, not a morph. That's Mike Curtin, Scattershot Exotics. But I don't know. And then, the more you get into it, the more you start to read about it and you research it, and you start to learn that there's the subspecies come along with it. And, I don't know. As carpet pythons as a complex, to me, was kind of the most confusing pythons that there was, right? because ball pythons were just all ball pythons, Angolan pythons are just Angolan pythons. You don't, maybe retics are probably one of the closest to carpets with localities and morphs and all these different things and subspecies. And I don't know, but it just led me to go down that road to where I became more of a geek about it. And ultimately I would find myself nowadays more on the away from the morph stuff and more on just the, natural variations of them. So it's like you come full circle, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my experience. So
absolutely. I would just hope that people wouldn't breed anything that they wouldn't want to hang on to themselves. That whole I guess I'll just do it because I can flip them for $50 to someone that just wants a pet. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Because eventually, I think a lot of them are going to re-enter the stream, if you will.
Yes. So
unfortunately,
what would be the way to? So if you're going to breed morphs and you're going to do designer stuff, you're going to have to deal with that question. I remember in the early days, talking with like Sean Christian, his thing was, well, I'm going to cull it. Everybody lost their shit. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Do you cull it? Do you keep it? Do you give it away as a pet? Do you, I don't know.
Yeah, until anybody's tried to sell a half a clutch of Jag siblings or whatever, jungle jab siblings, like, until you try and do that, you don't know. You just don't know the type of nonsense and questions you get. So when somebody's like, I'm just going to cull it, I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you.
That's not even so much what I'm talking about because you know what that is. It's a jungle Jag sib. I'm talking about the things where we have no clue what they are. Like, what's my carpet python? I found it at a pet shop. Like, that kind of thing is what I'm talking about.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It came from BHB, so it's probably nothing.
I mean, it's all a hypothetical, thought exercise, but I don't know. At least that's kind of what I want to make my own little personal rule be, is that I wouldn't produce anything that I wouldn't want to have myself, with the thought that somebody else would, just pet,
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people don't get into Jag projects or any of the crossing stuff. I think that's why you still have a lot of folks that very vehemently argue for the pure side of things, because everything's pure no matter what you make. So
yeah, it's much easier to sell that than it is to not, it can be tough, man. It can be tough trying to sell animals like that to somebody. And like most of the time I would look at animals like that, if you're going to do this as a business, like I think it was Ozzy Boyd's maybe a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how he's as a breeder, he's constantly upgrading his stock, right? So if he has an animal that he makes hets with, right, then he has that het female and he upgrades that animal that's now a het female, right? Let's say it's, I don't know, het exanic or something, right? So you upgrade that animal that was the normal that you bred the exanic male to, and then you upgrade that female to a het exanic and you sell the female, right? Mm-hmm. Then when you produce the visual, now you upgrade that het to a visual. And then when you add a caramel in there, you upgrade it to the caramel, and then, maybe it makes super caramel. So now at least you're getting all caramel exanics as opposed to some of these, normal ones that maybe won't sell. Like, I think if you're going to be a breeder, you have to sort of have that mentality, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the struggle, right? Because a lot of us are sort of like somewhere in the middle of that. We don't want to necessarily do it like a farmer because, I don't know, I get kind of attached to certain animals, and it's like, well, I don't want to get rid of this. Well, clearly I have a problem with that.
It's the old unproductive, cow. Take her out back.
So, but if you want to really do it as a business, I think that's kind of the mindset you kind of have to have, because you're going to keep your stock low, but you're going to keep the quality high. So like the more and more you have that, real, intense, genes get play, you're going to get less and less of, those harder to sell snakes, I think. So that would be my advice.
100%. It kind of is like a treadmill once you get on it.
Yeah.
That's why I have hypo het stripes, because Nick didn't need them anymore. Because what was the word?
Exactly.
He upgraded or
Yeah.
and
I guess some people would have a problem with that because they look at it as, that animal's getting tossed around from, place to place to place to place. And, people.
It's a good place, I promise.
yeah, no doubt. But it's kind of like, if you're it, and I'm not saying you're going to do this or not, or if it's good or bad, but let's say that you now are in that thing and you use that animal, you produce visuals, and then you move that animal on. So that animal is constantly going to be moved from, every 6 years, it's going to a new home, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that I plan on doing, but I don't want to set myself up to sound like a hypocrite down the line. Who knows,
Yeah.
Depending on what the hypo stripe thing, you're right.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. It's really just, your personal, views on that kind of thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just not where I'm personally at the moment. So
yeah,
I don't want to do that, but
for sure.
So you're all right there, Riley?
Just watching my Womas. Sorry.
Oh, Riley, should we talk about the demand for Womas? Like, let the people know what happened there.
That was crazy. So we hatched 2 clutches of Womas, and between the 2 clutches, it was 15 babies. 14 babies. I grabbed my pair. Lucas reserved a pair, and then Casey purchased one. So that left us with 3.6. So 3.6 Womas. Starting to eat, doing really well. I photograph them, post them on Morph Market. Like the evening before the next day, sold all of them.
Just gone.
Instantly. Like gone. Every single one.
Wow.
And at least when I was looking on Morph Market, like 3 or 4 of them didn't have an image yet, and they still were sold.
Yeah. There was a weird thing with the uploading, so I had to go back and fix it. And then as soon as I fix it, like trio gone, pair gone, female gone, like gone. I'm like, holy crap!
I mean,
people are hungry for Womas.
Let's be honest, they were really nice Womas, but still, it's pretty impressive the way they flew off the shelves, and it's not like he was bargain bin pricing them either. It was a fair price. So
$500, $450. Like, dude, they weren't bottom of the barrel prices. They were average, if not a little bit higher. And literally in 24 hours, they're all sold.
And I guarantee you that everybody that was watching that has Womas that they're getting ready to sell, now they're going to base their price off of that.
That's good. Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah, no, 100%.
They should do that.
What do you think what do you think it's from? Like, what do you think caused this spike in Woma love?
Us talking about
this guy?
No, that's absolutely part of it. Absolutely. 100% is that a significant contributing factor, in my opinion. People are paying attention to the airwaves. People are paying attention to what's on YouTube. People have a lot more free time. People are a lot more curious. They're kind of getting tired with the same mundane, handful of very common species. And I think there's just a lot more love for everything else that's out there nowadays.
I think Womas are a really cool drag and drop for folks too, that are kind of like trying to do something a little more zesty than a ball python.
But it fits with your style of keeping.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really have to change much. Yeah.
You don't have to change anything. Hell, keep the damn thing on sand, give it a freaking hot rock, and it'll survive. Like, trust me, it will do really well.
I agree with what you're saying, but don't do that, people.
Don't.
Does anybody even still make hot rocks?
Probably.
I think
they
Zima
do,
does.
which I don't understand.
Who is buying these?
You know what they've done is they've taken the heat cable that they use for the vision racks, because that's a Zoom Ed product, that heat cable, and they weave it into a mold for the hot rocks. And they've like redone them, and now they're like, oh, when they fail, they shut off instead of shutting on. It's like, when they fail?
Right.
They shouldn't fail.
No,
Right.
that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's still in the catalog, but it's not. I don't think it's a very big seller.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy how, all species seem to be cyclical, right? But it's amazing to me how much of an effect, podcast and YouTube and all that stuff can have on the market.
Yeah.
And how people sort of, get excited about things that we get excited about, So your passion is contagious.
It is. It's very
your
much so.
Asphodite's passion is contagious.
And everybody who's sitting here that's got babies that they're just waiting to post up for sale online, don't you worry. My YouTube video tomorrow dropping will have Womas Galore, so you better share it.
Oh,
nice.
Man.
That
and tomorrow I'm going to bring my two home. Nobody feed those.
Oh, you're taking this home?
Yeah, I'll grab them tomorrow.
Nice. Cool.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, man. This is from that crazy Woma that you have over there at the shop. That crazy looking.
What's wild is the reduced pattern females phenotype translated very little to babies, but the color is most certainly there. So this is from that reduced pattern female. I actually grabbed the busiest male from this clutch because he's like just insane.
Yeah.
He's only had one shed and he's just nutty.
I think wow, look at that belly, man. That's wild.
It's very interesting. The babies, like you said, none of them looked like mom, and mom is an extreme reduced pattern. Like, she doesn't look normal. And the dad is the one that throws blackbacks, which one of the ones I picked has a really extreme blackback. So I'm super curious what is going on with that, and whether you kind of maybe need two of those reduced pattern animals to consistently throw them, because
what's interesting is as far as the blackback from that male goes, this is a baby from the sort of traditional female to the traditional male. A little bit different, but what's crazy is the male and that other female throw not only genetic blackbacks, but a lot of black in the belly. And there's a customer of Grant's that bought one from this pair that created this little female right here. And he bought that animal 3 years ago, and its whole belly stripe is jet black.
It's super weird. Almost all of the babies from that clutch had black bellies.
Yeah.
And the reduced pattern clutch had really nice orange bellies.
And so Scott was like, oh, those look like they have some influence based on this head color and this from this locality and this locality and this and this. So my thoughts are, and this is just, obviously speculative hypothesis, is that the population of Womas from within the United States stems from some of the intergrade zones as well as some of the normal areas in Southwest and the Northeast and a little bit from Central. And it's just a huge muddying of all these bloodlines and localities and things. If you go look up Womas, they used to be much more extensive in their range throughout Australia, and it's become very, very fragmented over time, which has isolated some of these populations. So that's why you get some very strong phenotypic looks to certain areas, but just across the species, a lot of phenotypic plasticity. And so because we have such a diverse array of looks in the U.S. populations, I think there's a lot of blood from all of these areas that have kind of been mixed into the United States herpetocultural boiling pot of Womas. But over in Oz, you get isolation of some of that, and you see folks working with specific populations, specific ranges, specific bloodlines, and that's when you see those like crazy melanistic animals or weird stuff.
Yeah. Do you think? Go ahead. ahead, Lucas.
Oh, I was just gonna say I agree, Riley, that what we're dealing with here is a melting pot of Woma soup. What I was gonna say though is in Australia, as far as my research goes, what I have found is that it's very much still up for debate whether these different population centers have continuous gene flow or are distinct. I mean, at the end of the day, for the most part, nobody freaking knows. And the southwestern populations, you haven't really even had confirmed sightings since the 80s in some cases in like the wheat belt area.
More study needed.
Absolutely. And even in the 80s, people were saying more study needed. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to convince Zach Loafman to take me to Australia for my thesis, so go to Australia with him and then we can all go. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, more research needed is almost always the end result of any Woma question, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's and when we sort of did that Woma episode, the one thing that I learned was that Womas, unlike carpets, don't do well with human encroachment into their habitat. They seem to not be able to handle that as well.
Especially if you knock out their freaking burrows. I think a few weeks ago, I read that statistic that even in cleared agriculture, messed up human areas, Womas will do just fine if you leave the burrows.
Yeah.
Number one 100%. Determinant of habitat suitability.
Yeah. And I would imagine that part of that is to get away from that heat, man. I would imagine that's exactly what that's for,
You're dead on.
Yeah. Why would they have that little scale right here?
Yeah, the paper compares all the potential shelter, under a log, all these things, and underground is the only option that would insulate from the arid temperatures to a survivable degree.
I think I've said this before, but like just going into those caves over there, you have you're looking at a 10 to 15 degree difference. And that can make a huge difference. I mean, I would imagine the deeper you get into those caves, the cooler it will get. I think the Owen Pelly python is the opposite of the Boland's python, whereas the Boland's is coming out to sort of bask and get the heat, whereas the Owen Pelly python is hiding away in the escarpment so that they can escape the heat because it's just too hot. An interesting thing too, just on a side note, and I think I said this last night, we kind of talked about it on the stream, but it's so different herping Australia and America, right? Because when you're herping in America, the sun's going down at like 9 o'clock, especially we're talking summertime, right? The sun's going down, it's 9 o'clock, you're getting in that dusk to 10, and like you're going from like 10 o'clock to I would say we stop seeing activity around 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Oddly enough, we found a garter snit. Well, we didn't find, I shouldn't say we, Rob and Phil found a garter snit outside the house at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which I guess the temperature was so hot during the day that an animal like that isn't coming out. So I guess they're taking advantage of those warmer temperatures that are at night, because you're still talking like in the 90s at that time. So whereas opposed to Australia, the sun goes down at 6 o'clock, and it's like from 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock is kind of that witching hour. It's just very different, but
that's nice. And then you can get a decent night's sleep.
Yes. Maybe that's why I love Australia so much.
11, time to go.
Any sleep,
Also, Eric, I shot you pictures of the two that I picked out from that clutch too, if you want to flash those.
Oh yeah,
talking about the Womas. But the reason too, Riley, that I'm extra curious about mode of inheritance on that reduced pattern look is because the only other one that I've seen that looks close to the one at GX3 is the sire to my male from Dan.
Mm-hmm.
They look very alike, and the one that I got from him is perfectly banded. So it's like, what's going on?
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, it would be nice to play with like a few babies from each of those clutches for a few years and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the girl from the reduced pattern clutch. And then the nice black back boy from the other clutch. And I didn't flip him in the picture, but he also has that black belly that Riley and I were talking about, which is odd.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's a crazy looking animal.
So, do you think that black back does it spread out over time, or does it become more defined over time?
Riley, in terms of dad, it's not nearly that pronounced. What do you know about the generations that have come before?
The blackback stays on the babies.
Okay.
It stays. Yeah. I think maybe it loses its darkness a little bit compared to that photo right there, and still ends up a little bit lighter in the traditional Woma coloration, but it is very much still a dark dorsal stripe. Then there's a couple babies in there that had just as much of a dorsal striping, if not more. What that animal really has going for it that I think is going to show up more over time is it's got a dorsal stripe, and alongside the dorsal stripe are these little tan spots all the way down.
Like these here?
Yeah.
So I think what that'll do is that'll highlight that black back a little bit more and make it stand out more, and it'll probably lose its a little bit of the contrast with age, but it'll stay there. So
well, I'll certainly let you guys know. I'm excited that one's coming here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Very cool.
This is not the first clutch from that male, and every time we get a couple of those that do that pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So
and then,
it's a really cool look. It's a really cool look in person.
Yeah. I mean, it
reminds me of a blackhead.
That's what I was just going to say. If it keeps even like half of that contrast, it looks like some of those tiger blackheads,
I think that's what really drew me to the male that I grabbed. Even though it's from the reduced female, the thing looks like a freaking orange, busy pinstripe tiger, but a blackhead. And I'm just like, I don't know. This thing's
was
crazy.
a really cool experience, Riley, like for me to watch how you picked yours and then to get to pick mine. Like I've never had that experience before where it's just like, here's a whole clutch. What do you want? And the thought process, that was so fun.
And then there's like a specific look in one of the clutches that is important. And then there's just the traditional look in the other clutch. But then between the two clutches, the phenotype variation was just, like you could see the related clutch and you could see, okay, that's from that clutch, that's from that clutch. But then across the board, it's like, but these look similar and these look similar, but the color palette's different, but the orange on the head and the black on the belly. And it's
and then, I mean, by the end of it, I was asking Riley for help for which girl I should go with. And he was like, well, you've been staring at the one on the left for like, 10 times as long. Get that one. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a good point.
And then you're like, oh, I'll get this one. And I was like, just get both. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fun
so
stuff.
there was a question from Johnny here, or a comment. Like, I don't remember. What did I miss? Something?
I know which one he's talking about. It's the one that Nick, he's expecting to get his first super hypo tigers potentially from. It's a hypo male to a hypo tiger, and he was posting about that.
Was that the one with Paul said I produced that in 2020?
Nick's like, I might be the first to make super hypo tigers, and Paul's like, yeah, I made one last year.
Of course, he is the master of the carpets. I mean,
he got it first. Of course, he's gonna do it first.
Nick did say, unless my friend Paul got it first.
Little asterisk. What I took away from that was the fact that Nick has been sitting on hypocoastals for 10 years. Did you go look back at the dates of that pairing, that the first pairing in his chart? He's had hypocosis.
But that wasn't from him, though, right? That was from
no,
Paul.
Right. But the animals that he got and then paired were like, I want to say almost 10 years ago.
So usually what happens is Nick gets adults when, well, again, right, to the point we were talking about earlier, right? Those animals that are sort of, starting the base, then Paul sort of moves it to either somebody like Nick or myself, to where you're getting those animals that are sort of jump started.
Yep. Yep. Paul's the top of the pyramid, Nick's the next run down, and then it starts spreading out to everyone else.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So while he's making hypo tigers and not telling anybody, we're still just hearing about the whispers of hypo entering the States. Yes. And then by the time we're like, oh, people are buying hypos for $4,000, the first super hypo tigers are being made over in the UK. And we're like, oh my gosh, hypo tigers, imagine that. And then there's like 6 years of advancement across the pond and we don't even know about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. For as much as Nick talks, he does keep some secrets.
Oh, he keeps a lot of secrets. Yeah. That's a funny sentence. I hope Nick hears that sentence right now. He never listens to a show.
He knows I love him. It's all good.
Oh, I know. I don't think he could even deny that claim whatsoever. I think he would have to own it in jest for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Paul, though, is like, I swear, I used to have this theory, right, that Paul and Nick were really the same person, but like Nick was like Paul, but he was like, it was like, I almost thought of it like the Wizard of Oz, right? He was the man, like Paul was Oz, and Nick was like the guy behind the curtain controlling all the things. So it's like, I'm like, how come I never get to talk to Paul directly? How come? I mean, I'm spending thousands with tens in front of it, and I don't understand.
That's good. Yeah.
Owen used to bust my stones and say I added a wing onto Paul's house multiple times. New bedroom, new bathroom redone, all this stuff. But good stuff.
Funny. Oh, I have an update related to wings of houses.
Oh, okay.
Kinda. Well, I mean, I'm not getting a house nor a new wing, but my roommate's going to move to Scotland. And I have decided that I'm just going to work my butt off and rent both rooms and put all the snakes in there. So I'll actually have a snake room.
Whoa, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
It's going to be balling.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, man. When you and then, you graduate to that. I went from that, like they were in my living room, and then graduate to a 2-bedroom apartment to your own snake room. And then when you get a house and you're like, oh, there's so much room for activities. What the heck?
Yeah.
Fill it full of snakes.
I mean, just for all you got, like my bed's right here. Like I am in my room. Like,
right.
This is nothing fancy. So that'll be really nice to get all this crap out of here.
I remember doing that, living surrounded by enclosures at the foot of the bed and all walls, floor to ceiling everywhere.
I mean, I don't mind it, right? Like it's fun. But
yeah, wait until you have a rack next to your bed and a big python takes a dump in the middle of the night right next to your head and it wakes you up.
I'm more concerned about the dumps from the fall season in terms of smell.
wait for that exact same scenario to pan out when you have a lady friend spending the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fun time.
So it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Albino super zebra?
Is that a gummy?
Yes. With a jag in it.
Albino super zebra jag, huh?
Looks
How can
edible.
you tell? Does it sleep upside down?
Possibly.
Does
I
it
guess.
corkscrew around?
It looks like the color of silly putty.
That's beautiful.
So this would be the third one that's been produced. So my question to you guys, do you think that it's just a matter of, just keep pushing away and finally hitting those odds, or,
Yeah, I do. I think anything with albinos is an uphill battle, and the odds tend to screw you a little bit. I think anything with super zebra is an uphill battle, and you tend to get really gnarly results and some weird issues, whether that's from inbreeding or just because it's a severely broken gene and that's what it does? I don't know. And I think the combination of those two things is why it's been elusive. But how many people do you see actually going for it, especially now?
Not many.
Yeah. So I think part of it has to do with the fact that not that many people are gunning for it. I mean, Todd's been gunning for it. Was it KD Selective Creations been gunning for it?
He's the one. Yeah.
He produced one
That was
or
his,
two.
yeah.
That was it. He got another. Okay,
that was
good
his,
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he had done it a couple of years ago, and then I don't think it had Jag then. And then everyone's like, "Well, let me see the tail," and the tail was like, "Quack." Yep, super zebra. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I just think people get kicked in the nuts with zebra to zebra odds in general, and then you throw albino on there, and it's like a double dose of testicular tantrums, just like getting boom kicked in the nuts by breeding genetics.
Testicular tantrums. All right, I like it.
Very good.
Yeah, I think if there were more people going for it, we would see more of them. I think it's beautiful. I want to see what it looks like after it's like 2 years old.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So another thing that I thought would be cool, right? How we usually like look at a locality or whatever, but I thought that it would be interesting to look at wild carpets and what they are eating or what they have ate.
Yes.
So I got a couple of pictures of some things. So this is what I say all the time, like carpets and big meals.
Oh
like,
my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Carpet ate my dingo.
Yeah, kind of.
Dude, that's like if Owen let what's his big ass coastal, that the monstrous one, loose in your house and it ate Roxy.
Yeah, pretty much. Sophie, you mean the one he had?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my.
Do we know what's in there or no?
I want to say it's either some kind of like marsupial or a cat,
wallaby or a cat or a freaking koala or something. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Here's even a stranger one yet, right? We have this one. To me, just was like I couldn't for the life of me understand this one, but
Right.
I think I think it just goes to the whole idea that we know so little about snakes.
Good Lord.
Oh, eggs.
A carpet python eating eggs.
Yeah. Those are chicken eggs too, huh?
Yeah. So my first question would be, did it eat the chicken? And then it just sort of took advantage of the opportunity.
It looks like it ate the chicken.
Right up in like this area.
Yeah, it looks like it ate the chicken. And it's just going because everything smells like chicken now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But like,
That's
I thought
awesome.
that was
Also a very pretty snake. Look at that stripe, kind of.
All the wild coastals over there have amazing stripes. I'm super jealous. They keep
Now,
finding like,
one-
oh, this looks like a hypo. Like, damn it.
yeah.
I just let it go back in this tree. Son of a bitch.
What are you doing?
Send it to me.
This one is eating a
Yes.
wallaby. But
There
again,
you
that
go.
big meal.
Oh my God.
Wild.
Yeah,
right?
man. And then just keep in mind all the stuff that Loafman talked about on the snake digestion episode when you look at that. Like,
Yeah.
Holy
how
shit.
how much is the biochemistry going to change to knock that thing out?
Yeah. So
That's unbelievable. That snake that's not a little carpet either. I mean,
no.
that carpet's 3 inches in diameter. I mean, that thing's eating. If it were in one of our collections, we'd be tossing at large rats, no problem.
Right.
And this thing's going after something that's like
Yeah.
10 inches in diameter, probably weighs, I don't know, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, something ridiculous.
It really makes you think.
So we sort of had a interesting conversation kind of at when we were herping in Texas, right? And I'm always picking Rob and Justin's brain about this. Like we talk about seasonal feeding, right? We talk about, offering prey at a specific time of year. And Rob does it even a little more detailed to where, and I hope I don't screw this up for him, but his thought is that, what are those snakes eating in the wild? Are they eating again, they could be eating big prey like this, but more than likely they're probably eating smaller prey more often, meaning that, they're taking advantage of that seasonality of let's just say rodents or whatever it would be. And they're taking advantage of that seasonality, and they're sort of just like, gorging, if you will. And I haven't read the paper yet, but apparently there's a paper, and I think the number was 20% of the will not get that. I'm going to screw this up, so I don't want to say it. But there's something about the idea that, a certain weight of the prey will not really kick in the metabolism of the animal. Have you guys heard anything like that, or you have any?
Wait, so you're saying if a prey item is below a certain threshold, if it's too small, is that what you're saying? It won't.
If it's too small, it's not necessarily, how like when snakes have their system kind of shut down or whatever. Mm-hmm. So if the prey is a certain size and it's smaller, it's not going to kick that in. They're going to stay at that, it's not going to kickstart their metabolism.
They're going to stay at that metabolic rate.
I see what you're saying.
So is the question that if you're feeding them small stuff during those low times, you're not throwing off a cycle, or
there's a coronavirus joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's halfway down the snake's throat. Hey,
look at that hand though, man.
Yeah, that's creepy. Bats are cool. Bats are really cool, but they're also creepy.
They're super important pest control.
I love them, but look at that hand. It's like the eyes.
It's my strong hand.
Oh yeah, the one that digs for that little worm in the
with the finger. Finger. The native people thought if you saw one, you would die within 24 hours.
Oh shit!
They still think that
the eye. Yeah. But anyway, I wonder. I have no idea, Eric. I want to ask Zach.
Yeah, it's a good Zach question. For sure.
I'm sure his answer would be the 2,500 species. Which one are we talking about? Thing.
So
if those animals are producing offspring seasonally, right? Like rodents, bats, birds, there's like a season where they're producing. So does Rob feed more frequent, smaller meals in the spring and then change for the rest of the year?
Yeah. Yeah, he does it to where he's sort of Again, I can never nail this down from him because I constantly ask him this question, and it's kind of like this, like he tells me, but I for some reason it hasn't clicked in my head, right? And that's why I'm constantly asking him, and he's probably looking at me like, why does he keep asking me the same question? But my thought is that he's sort of like, so like if he's going to cycle feed, he might feed smaller meals, right? And he's thinking like long-term health of the animal and metabolism and all this stuff, rather than say, okay, so like my approach currently is like, right now I'm feeding, say, for my females, I'm feeding something like a medium rat, right? So I don't go much bigger than a medium rat. I'm feeding a medium rat, maybe twice a month, maybe once a week, just really kind of like no set schedule or whatever. Whereas I think what Rob is doing is he might feed it a large mouse, but he might feed it every 3 days, like 3 days, feed it, 3 days, feed it, 3 days, feed it, 3 days, feed it, and then stop for a little bit. 3 days, you know what I'm saying? Like more of a cycle like that, which is probably, I would, and again, this is where I guess guys like, this is why I always ask the question of guys like Scott and the guys down in Australia and the girls down in Australia that are out there in the field with carpets. Yeah. It seems like every time I see a picture of them, they're eating some gargantuan meal, more like an African rock style type of feeding, right? It's like, I'm going to eat a gazelle. Is that
because they're eating something so big that it takes them that long for a human to stumble across and take a photo? Whereas if they're eating a mouse, it's gone in a second. You don't see that.
Could be.
Yeah, that is possible. Very
and it doesn't leave a lump, and all you see is a snake cruising, and you don't know. What's interesting is I've never really thought about it at that level, but I guess thinking about how I look at a full calendar year with my animals, I sort of do that incidentally without necessarily realizing it, but I do it for a different reason.
Okay.
When and I'll probably change it now that we're talking this a little bit. When I'm bringing animals out of winter, so baby rack, adults, juveniles, subadults, whatever, they haven't eaten in like 2.5 months, or 3 months or whatever it is. When I bring them back around into it and the temps start coming up and I'm starting to see more active behavior out of them that, suggests to me that they might be ready to start eating again, I actually ease everybody back into the active eating with smaller meals a little bit more frequently for the first, I'd say like March through April, like kind of everybody that's starting to pick back up, they're getting smaller meals to ease them back into it. And I guess I
kind of do the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So for like my big breeder females, what I'll do is I'll start their first meal back up with like a small rat, and then a week later do like a medium rat, and then like 2 weeks later do a large rat, and then I ease back into whatever sort of very spread out time period it is. And actually right now, because it's so hot, I'm not feeding my adults right now. To me, the insane summer heat stops a lot of the fecundity in rodents. They don't like that heat. They hide more. They're probably harder to get, harder to find, retreating more. The snakes probably are too. So they're probably also not out as active more, at least during the day. And at night, those prey items might be a little better hunkered down and whatnot. So for me, like, I kind of ease things back up into the spring with a little more frequent, smaller meals, get back into the swing of things, drop back off for the summer, and then pick back up with more pace and larger meals much more frequently, especially for the adults getting ready to breed, usually around July, August. Yeah. So it's kind of does this roller coaster effect. Yeah. Because rodents and birds do have a cycle, but rodents will produce throughout the year. There's just certain spikes in the year where they're more prolific. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, again, I don't think that it necessarily would affect, carpets one way or the other. I think they're just opportunistic and they're going to take what they can get, type of deal. But I wonder if, maybe it helps with, fat storage or, which ultimately leads to the longevity of the snake, that kind of thing, where it's a more naturalistic type of cycle. But I'm with you, man. Like during, the more and more you think about it and you start to look at, what prey species would be in the area of what it can be. It doesn't have to be carpets. It could be anything that you're working with, and sort of understanding that cycle would probably give you an understanding of, how you should approach feeding that animal,
Yeah.
I think when you do that, you get an animal that's just, they're more instinctually driven, more keen on doing what they're biologically programmed to do and built to do. And you get a much more natural behaving animal, one that's willing to eat kind of relentlessly because its instincts say that it's probably not guaranteed a meal for a long time.
And I wonder, just a thought, right? Here's a thought. Like, I think that you would probably be able to, if you could figure that out and you could figure out the cycle just by watching the snake, you could tell when it's ready to breed, right? Because if you're pounding them with food at this time and then all of a sudden they stop feeding, to me, that would be like a huge flag to say, okay, something's changed. What has changed? Let's try to figure this out. What's going on? Being that student of the serpent type of thing and paying attention to your animals. I think you wouldn't necessarily need, maybe you wouldn't need, the drops and stuff like that or whatever, maybe with Darwin's, right? I think of Darwin's where maybe that's the trick to those species that are in those, super hot place. You know what I mean? Because on the East Coast, I think the temperatures do get hot, but I don't think they get as hot as like, say, the Darwins. And maybe that's why Darwins are trickier to breed for people. Maybe it's more of that, that pound them with food to sort of what you're saying type of thing, and then sort of paying attention and not necessarily dependent on like a cool down as more as maybe it's pressure fronts or something. So like, I think sometimes with breeding pythons or just breeding anything, like people sort of, I think we'll talk about pythons in particular, right? Because if you're thinking about breeding pythons, we sort of like try to put everything into that cookie cutter, drop the temperatures at October, and you follow the holiday cycle, Thanksgiving, just that, it's emptied out, that whole thing. Christmas, you put them together, and you're getting eggs, I don't know, February, March, maybe April, something like that. Where maybe with the Darwins, it's a little bit outside of that. And I think maybe with those Indonesian species that are trickier to breed, and it might kind of fall into that type of thing. I don't know.
I think my lack of success with Darwins over the last couple seasons has been as a result of me maturing and growing as a keeper and changing the way I think. In the early years, I was just focused on, if she gets to a certain size, she'll breed. And got her huge in the first 3 years. I got her to adult size at 3. Which don't do that if you're listening to that. Don't push an adult or any carpet to adult size by 3 years old. That's not good. She won't breed for shit. She doesn't care. She has no interest. She doesn't. She literally does nothing 24/7. She wants nothing to do with anything. She's just constant veg, digest, sit, chill, do nothing unless there's food. So guess who's not eating all summer? Her.
She's not.
Yeah. She's plenty big. The last 2 years, I've cycle fed her, let her experience photo period and everything. Nothing. I think she's just a big fat slob. I think I pushed her too hard, and now I'm going to abuse the living hell out of her to the point where she's going to lose a lot of weight. And then in the winter, right before it, I'm going to give her a few big meals, like 2, maybe 3, and that's it. Because she's eaten enough. She's not. I think I potentially have crossed the line where I can't come back.
Yeah.
But we'll never know. I mean, you can't say for sure with biology and
sure
and organisms like that. But I don't think her lack of breeding is her fault, or I don't think it's the male's fault. I think it's me. The male's actually a year older. He's tiny though, but he breeds readily now. It's just nothing comes of it. And I think it's all because I've overdone it in the earlier years. And now it's going to take some years of conditioning her back off of that to get into a normal rhythm, if it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have done that. Where
I mean, she's as big as some of my juncos, dude. She's 7 foot.
Really?
Wow. She's 7 foot albino Darwin. She's huge. She's a fat ass. Yeah. Not how they should be. When I see photos of Paul Harris's animals on eggs or Nick's animals on eggs, they're like 10 egg clutch, 12 egg clutch. I'm like, oh shit. Those animals are half the size of my girl. If she were to drop eggs, it's 25 for sure.
Well, I think Owen had that with olives, right? He was trying to breed olives for years, and I think what he did is that he got that male and female too big, too quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was at the time where he was sort of transitioning from his old style of feeding to his new approach to feeding. And I remember telling him, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Your rat bill must be so expensive, man. Like, how do you afford this?
Yeah.
Like, you're just pounding your animals every week with food. But, not for nothing, that's how you kind of did it back then.
Yeah.
It's how it was. It was just like, you got to feed the breed. That was the whole the mantra.
Yeah, it's funny. I look at some of the feeding cards for some of my like 10, 11-year-old carpets here, and I look at like their very first card and how many meals they had in a year, and I'm like, oh shit, you had 12 medium rats in 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I look at them now, and I'm like, okay, we're in the middle of June. How many meals have you had? You've had 5 meals. Good.
Right.
So like one of the things that I've sort of changed with feeding is that I've sort of moved over to a lot more birds with my carpets.
Yeah, I did a round of quail feeding last night.
Yeah, did you?
Nice.
Yeah,
we just got a new supplier that's a falconer who in the area who's now supplying us with chicks by the 100, big quail, little quail, and everything. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I might start doing this now.
Oh
yeah. I got some guinea pigs. I got and birds and some rats. So.
There you go.
These are some nice, quail? Like week-old chicks. Quail hens that are like a little bit bigger than the babies that I need for my do rolls. But then we've got, a bunch of chicks galore at the shop. And
it's awesome,
dude. I need to start doing this because here's the thing. Like, think about this. For somebody like us, we've got newborn babies to 2-year-olds to adults to various species. The falconer, he spent my entire lunch talking to me. So you're damn right, I remembered everything he said. I was hungry. But it was spot on. So he was kind of talking to me the economics of chicks. Like, let's just push aside the fact that varied diet is important. It's one of the things is like, what's the best thing for an animal that's better than giving him the best prey item? And his answer was a varied diet that includes that prey item. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Varied diet. So I get your point. And then he starts explaining let's say a chick at a frozen thawed chick costs as much as an adult mouse, a rat pup, a weaned rat, whatever, right? You get your weaned rat. That's one meal for whatever animal, right? You get a chick. It's frozen. Take the legs off. Those are meals for small baby pythons each. Take the head off, that's a small meal for maybe a yearling. You take the body and the stump, that's maybe a year and a half. You've just taken a rodent or a bird that costs, $1.50, $1.99, whatever it is, and broken it into 4 meals. Now each of those meals costs you 50 cents or whatever it is, and you've just fed 4 snakes for the same cost that it would take you to feed 1 snake, 1 rodent. So aside from the health benefits that it seems to create by instituting variety, you can also save a lot of money instituting some of these bird prey items in there. Granted, I'm not going to sit there and rip heads and legs off of every single chick and be like, here's one for you and here's one for you. No, I'm wham bam steal the van, you know what I mean? But at the same time, if they're cheaper, the economics is there. But I think we all know a lot of Australasian and Indonesian and Australian pythons and animals really love bird prey. It's where, there's a lot of bird of paradise out there. There's a lot of crazy stuff. So it makes sense.
Yeah. There's that whole thing too with what I'm doing, Brettles feast on those nesting parrots or whatever during that certain time of the year. So they love the birds. And
they got native parrots. They've got invasive chickens that people keep. They've got cockatoos. They've got
bush turkeys.
There's bush turkeys. Dude, birds are all over the place there. And if you think about how prolific birds can be, like, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I agree with everything said about, not trying to pump stuff up and cycle feeding. My hypo het stonewash female, I was talking to Riley about this last week. She's not going to be ready to breed by 4. She's like 700, 800 grams right now.
Right. Yeah.
I'll be lucky if I get her at 5 years, and I'm okay with that because she'll be better off for it.
Yeah. I think if you don't put any pressure on yourself or her to breed before like 8 years old, the first time you do breed her, you're going to hit it out of the friggin' park, my friend.
I'm in no hurry, and I want her to be around for a long time, producing beautiful.
That's the other thing. Who, Eric? Maybe you saw somebody post about it. Somebody posted something. It might have been in the Morelia Python Radio community forum or a jungle forum or something, but somebody was talking about the longevity of their snakes and obesity, and somebody made a comment about how people think their snake died of old age at 10 to 12, but that's just not the case. I mean, I can't tell you how many ball pythons I've worked with that are 40 years old, or I've worked with a 26-year-old Sanzinia that had to be euthanized because he developed cancer, cataracts, glaucoma, like old age type things. There's a Puerto Rican boa at the Sacramento Zoo that is a day older than me and still alive and well. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
These snakes live a lot longer than we realize. And I think some people already know that, but I think even that, it goes beyond what even the most woke snake digestive people even realize, because we just don't know. I think carpet pythons are probably one of those species that if you did it right and did it natural and let them go, in the right circumstances, you can have a 35-year-old python, no doubt.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. No,
I'm looking at a 10-year-old female who looks as good as she was when she was 3. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that animal should never pass before 20, like, at all. Anything beyond that, like, you know, genetics, extenuating circumstances, all these other things. But still, like, these animals are efficient as hell. And the fact that we've found a way to, like, shorten their lifespan just through feeding too much.
I mean, it's really not all that surprising. We do the same thing to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. You know, I think one of the things that I have that we did kind of talk about this on the trip too, and this is sort of the one thing that I often question, and I don't think that there's really any data on it in the wild, but you know, baby pythons or baby carpets and what they're doing or whatnot. But I think Rob made a good point to me when we were chatting about it. He's like, you know, when a baby python is sort of, say, from birth, from hatching to a year, right? All of those calories are being put into growth, right? So it's not like they're going to store fat or anything. It's going to be put all into growth. So like feeding them a little more frequently is not necessarily going to hurt them in that first year of life, right? That being said, I think I would still cycle feed them. Is going to be my approach, right? Only because I think with breeding, I think in nature, they're still going to be exposed to those cycles of whatever that prey animal is. So I think ultimately it probably is maybe good for them, but I think I might be a little more intense with, say, something in that year range as far as frequency of doing it, right? So maybe it's every couple of days as opposed to once a week or whatever, you know, and then sort of back it off and then pick it up again and back it off and pick it up again to where it's more of a, more of a natural type of thing. But I think once you hit that year mark, I think people still keep pounding, and that's where you run into trouble, because then they'll start to store that fat, and you get those fat snakes with the tiny heads and shit and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God. I saw the fattest, most obese Antaresia at the show today. Holy shit. Oh man. The thing had a peanut head. It was like a 2-year-old male children's python. Its head was as it should be, but the thing was like fatter than the girthiest spot in my gravid female when I produced him a couple years ago. Like, I could hold a gravid female in her clutch in my hands. This male was freaking beast. This thing looked like it'd been fed retired breeder mice or rat pups or something. I never fed my Antaresia anything bigger than a small mouse, and produced perfectly, and they're super healthy and all this stuff. And I saw that thing and I was like, what is that? And it was just busting at the seams, fat sausage, and it was like, and it like it would shit if you picked it up. Like, it would just explode. It was disgusting.
When you see something that's at that point too, like, you gotta remember, snakes can't create subcutaneous fat. There's no fat layer behind the skin. All of that is around the organ tissue.
Yeah.
So I loved having that argument with people that were like, my snake's not fat, it's just 10 feet long. And I'm like, I can see that it's got ribs out there and you think that it's muscular and shit. What you don't see is the fat that's under the ribs.
Yeah, no, the fat doesn't go on the outside of the ribs because
no,
thermoregulate.
Yeah. I've literally had discussions with people that are like, I feed my carpet python a rabbit every week. It's not fat. It's just 10 feet long. I'm like, so where did all three of those chins come from and those double back rolls down the whole body?
When it dies,
why does it look like an obese retic? Excuse me?
Cut it open and find the little butter sacks in there.
Yeah, some guy came into the shop the other day to tell me his buddy has a 13-foot python. I was like, oh, let me know when it dies. Love to skin it
and
next month.
I laugh. Obviously, it's sad, but
it's sad because the animal suffers, and then these dudes go and think they're flexing, like, oh, look at me, I've got a 13-foot animal. I killed it at 4, by the way, but just letting you know, mine's bigger. It's like, oh, real cool, buddy.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't think of fat the same way.
No, what is it? Luke Netheim's video of that snake. Maybe it wasn't Luke. Maybe it was Coops.
No,
reptiles.
It was Matt Somerville. You're talking about the Ingram's.
That lived in the what is it? He set up that black sand environment, the black
cracked soil and stuff. Yeah,
beautiful. And the snake ate 6 times a year and was obese.
Yeah.
I mean, every species is different. I'm not gonna sit here and say like you can compare that to every snake and whatever. But like, let's be real. We anthropomorphize the shit out of snakes. We are a soft, fleshy being that has a propensity towards obesity and overindulgence that eats 3 times a day, and then all of a sudden we start keeping an ectothermic animal that sometimes eats 3 times a year, and we think we have to treat it like we do. It's just terrible.
One of the other, I think, right, this is a great point that as me and Rob and Justin were having this conversation, obviously we're in the desert and the heat, right? So water, sorry, would be.
I'm sorry, when you say water, like when you do it like that, I notice it more than you just say water. I don't even acknowledge it. It's weird. When you're trying to
it's weird. So it just as of late in my life, it kind of annoys me when I say water, and I'm just like,
it's because
I notice it much when I travel, and I say, "Can I get some water?" Especially when, like, if you're eating at a restaurant, everybody's like, "Can I have some water?" And it's like, "Dude, that just sounds weird, man. It just sounds weird." But anyway, probably the more important thing. So, like, we can live, snakes can live long time without eating, or, snakes obviously can live longer than we can without eating. But, the one thing you cannot live without is water, right? You can't live without it, and you need it. So probably the most important thing you can do is keeping your snakes hydrated, and making sure that they have, water and that, Yeah, I know that sounds weird, man.
Yeah, you're forcing it. Just say water. We'll accept you for who you are.
Say wallet.
Yes, Thunder Mifflin.
Wallet.
Yeah.
Wallet.
Wallet. I say that right. It's just water. You know what I think it comes from? Water ice, right? We have water ice. So
that was
is that a word?
Okay, Lucas, hold on a sec, Lucas. I experienced this firsthand. When I went out there, it was a super hot, humid day. We were like killing time in between barbecuing or something like that. Eric's like, let's go get some water ice. I'm like, come again? He's like, yeah, let's go get some water ice. So I was like, sure, yeah. So we roll in the car, go out to this spot, and like Lucas, you and I, we would be like, oh, it's like an old school AM PM, drive up outside, no inside little shack. They just make stuff in the back. The high school kids in the area work it all the time. And, it's great stuff, especially after, a warm, humid day in the evening, sun's gone down. It's perfect. What else do you want to do at 8:30 at night? Nothing. You want to go get a water ice, go sit, go do the thing. It's part of that culture there. It's beautiful, right?
So it's a drink.
It is. It's like shaved ice, but it's like a different texture. It doesn't melt as fast. There's a little bit more liquid. It's got the flavors and everything, but it's not like anything they have here in California. But
no,
it's a thing there. It's a thing there. So when Eric was like, "Let's go to some water," I was like, "You're gonna have to slow that word down for me. I need to dissect this word."
Got it.
But it was amazing. Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it.
It's kind of like it's like a thicker, like shaved ice, kind of like you can feel the crystals of the ice, right?
Okay.
This is like,
More
think of it like
snow.
Think of it like coffee and espresso, right? So like espresso is that super fine grain of coffee, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like that, right? So
that sounds delicious.
It's perfect. This time of year, dude, all you got to do is wake up in the morning, you go sit by the pool, you take the dog out, go check on your snakes. Oh, it's lunchtime. I'll go get a Philly cheesesteak. Oh, I go sleep outside by the pool for a few hours. Oh, it's dinner time. Let's go get a barbecue going, and then it's hot. Let's go get some water ice and then
water ice.
Yeah.
There we go.
Time. I miss.
Let's go down to the Wawa and then get a water ice.
That's right. The Wawa.
Christ.
So like, Lucas, you've never had a real Philly cheesesteak? I'm taking it.
Well, no, one time, the 8th grade field trip to like the East Coast, you go all these places, you see the Liberty Bell, you go to DC. I had a Philly cheesesteak in Philly.
But
where was it from? Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea, man. 8th grade.
Okay. You probably
see, that's the thing.
8th grade for you was like what, 5 years ago? Come on, man. You're still a young guy.
Oh man.
I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I know you don't. It was probably more like 10 years ago.
So you weren't far off.
Yeah.
No, more
8th grade for me was 1989.
The year I was born.
11 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, it had to be a long time ago because I haven't eaten beef since freshman year of high school. So that was one of my last. That's right.
You don't eat beef. Well, can you eat chicken?
Beef? Oh yeah, I eat everything else.
Okay, so I will introduce you to the chicken cheesesteak.
Okay.
Philly chicken cheesesteak.
I had, just so you know, I had 4 Philly cheesesteaks and a Philly cheesesteak pizza in one weekend while I was out there.
That sounds delicious.
When in Rome.
I'll bring my little lactose intolerant people pills.
Oh yeah, I gotta have those too.
Yeah.
The one thing that Rob is just awesome at this when we go on a trip, right? He's really good at finding these little like places to eat in the middle of nowhere, like like either it's a food truck. One day we had this double bacon, double cheddar burger, which was like, oh dude, I mean, it was just like after herping all night and not eating, like it was delicious. Then we had took us this 1 foot, it was like a foot long hot dog spot where they had like all the you know how food trucks like spice things up and have like their own creations of stuff, was that right next to this like local coffee shop. Oh dude, I'm like, what the hell? And then when we were coming back going towards San Antonio to the airport, we stopped at this Mexican restaurant and I had like, they were tacos, but it was like fresh made tortillas.
Yeah.
And you know that ham or like that pork they put on a spit that spins around and just cooks and cooks, and they just
barbacoa,
kind of shave it off. Yeah, like that. They cut it up, put it on there, a little cilantro. Oh, dude, it was oh man.
You had your first taste of real street tacos.
Yes, yes. They don't have them out here. We have Taco Bell.
Let me tell you, man.
No,
that's horrible.
No, if you ever come out to California, holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
like the further south you go, the better. I will
100%.
concede that Northern California's Mexican food can't touch Southern California's, and San Diego might arguably have the best culture for it. But there's arguably every city in California has a local taqueria, El Gruyense, something like that. Just some local family somewhere, right? So this morning, for example, I was like, dude, you know what? There's a show today. I got time. I need to eat because chances are I'm not going to have lunch there. I'm getting me a breakfast burrito. Forget Chipotle. Forget Taco Bell. Forget all that fast food nonsense. I go to Los Immortales down the street that's probably been exactly the same / whatever color of paint they throw in the building every 5 years for the last like 30 years. Dude, the same recipes, like the same faded by the sun photographs of the meals that Abuelita made like 40 years ago for the first Polaroids they took for it.
Yes.
And the shit's in styrofoam that they make in Mexico. You know what I mean? It's like as legit as it freaking gets. And you're just like, I don't care that I just put 2,000 calories in my face.
Doesn't matter.
That was worth it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, dude. It's amazing.
It's like one of my favorite parts of the herp trip, right? You go on the herp trip, you go to these different places that you never been before. You're exposed to different, food and different nationalities and how they, have food. And oh man, that's one of my favorite things of traveling.
Yeah. You go to
just
Miami.
Like tour.
Yeah. Go to Miami, get yourself some Cuban coffee and some amazing Cuban food.
They have this place called Stripes in Texas. And let me tell you, man, I tried 2 times for the coffee. Like, me and my coffee. I have to have coffee. I'm like, I need it to function. I cannot just wake up and be like, bro, let's go. I need something. So we go to this place, the Stripes. It's kind of like a gas station, fat type of thing, and I was like, all right, let me try it. Oh, the coffee was so bad. And especially now that I've upped my game on coffee, I got the French press, got an espresso maker, got the, the drip, got the, all these different kinds of coffee, iced coffee, this, that, all this stuff. And the flavor, when you actually make coffee right, is dude, what a difference it makes. And then when you're getting whole beans, you grind them right there on the spot, then you cook them, like the one, I belong to this coffee club, they roast it right before they mail it, so it's the freshest it can be. And what a difference in the taste. Huge man difference. And then I go to this gas station and this is shit. I'm like, what is this shit? Dude. And I'm like, all right, let me power through it. Yeah. So then I started drinking these Starbucks, whatever they are, those little espresso things, but I don't like the sugar part of it. Yeah. I don't like the sugar part of it.
They're too sweet.
Like the black. Yeah. So I had a hard time with that. And then I switched back over. I tried the coffee again, and I'm just like, how can people drink this? For the love of God, this is the worst thing ever. But when you go to these little mom and pop places and the coffee is it's like part of the whole thing. And
dude. They've got the same brown speckled mugs that their grandparents bought in the 50s when the restaurant was lined with shag carpet and they haven't changed the dishware at all. That's when the coffee's good.
Yes.
They still have that brown pot. It's brown and glass, and they come out and it's 30, 40 years old.
Yeah,
coffee's the best. Man. Yeah, I can't stand when people are like, oh, McDonald's coffee is actually not bad. I'm like, you mean it's not shit? Because shit is shit. What you're drinking isn't actually fecal matter, so it can't be called shit. But it's close.
That's right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a bit of a coffee snob now. I don't know.
Good for you. Good for you. Life is too short to drink shit coffee.
I know. It's like the lifeblood of the world, I mean.
And you know what? There's a time and a place for decaf. It's called never and nowhere.
Yeah, especially on a herpet trip, man.
Yeah, never and
you
nowhere.
Need all the caffeine you can get. You need that boost, that jolt,
Yeah, whoever invented decaf coffee was the first person to get old. That's all I gotta say.
Wait, I have one more story because we're almost at the time, so I might as well tell the story, right?
Hell yeah, it's carpets and coffee, damn it.
And we kind of talked about this on the other thing, but I'll tell my version of it. Right. So we go to this. In Texas, everything seems to close at 8:00 at night. Right. It's everything shuts down except for this one diner that we found at 3. So it's 3:00 in the morning. We haven't eaten dinner. It's we're starving. We just hiked. We basically hiked 8 miles a day. Right. I think is what it came out to. So we're hiking 8 miles a day. In that heat, man, is intense, right? So you want to try to you want some calories, to get in your system and stuff, right? Well, I could probably use a few days without calories, but that's besides the point. So we go to this restaurant, we eat it, right? And you guys I'm sure when you go to herp shows and stuff, maybe you stayed at a hotel, or even when you stayed at a hotel, what's the go-to breakfast item at the hotel? The waffle, right?
Waffles.
With the stuff in the little cup, you pour it on the thing,
just make it right there. Yeah.
I'm not a waffle guy, but
thing in the world.
I follow.
They trust the kids to be able to make the waffle.
Yeah, it beeps at you so you don't burn the hotel down.
Yes. So Justin ordered a thing of waffles. 3 waffles. It took this guy, like, he had to make like 4 sets of the 3 in order to get him 3 waffles. Come on, man. You probably picked the wrong career if you can't make the waffle. Like,
you can't make the
Oh,
waffles.
he was supposed to do it for you? Somebody
Yes.
was? Oh,
Yes,
that's
he's
just
in the
sad.
kitchen
man.
and like he
can't-
burn it, he didn't flip it, he didn't turn it, you know, whatever the case.
That
would
boy
be.
ain't right.
The world
just
needs
kept-
ditch diggers.
Yeah,
Damn.
kept hearing beep. Oh, damn it. Away. There's like this stack of waffles that didn't make it on the grill. But, yeah,
Here, kid, here's a broom. Stay outside.
right. Good stuff. Oh man.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, you know, there's something to be said for if you can't figure it out, maybe aim lower.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, I want to go on a herp trip so bad. I mean, going to the show today was kind of like a herp trip because my friend came and picked me up. We're like, yeah, we're going to a show. Let's look at some snakes. Hey, check out the Apodora. Hey, check out the hogs. Hey, okay, let's go look for some snakes. We get to the show. We're like, all right, we're out doing stuff. And now I'm back home. I'm like, that was really short. I want to go again.
Yeah. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, herping, man. It's
I found a garter snake this morning.
I saw
there you
that. I saw that. You're out on the
Very
job
cool.
having a good time. Oh, how hot was it though?
Too hot. They sent us all home.
Yeah. That garter snake, where'd you find it?
It was just about to be in the bucket of an excavator in the middle of a mud field. So I don't know what that dude was thinking.
It's probably the same group of animals who allowed themselves to get caught and wind up at the show out here in Roseville
exactly.
illegally. Maybe that gene pool should be in captivity, not out of the wild.
Amnophis.
Yeah, Amnophis.
Did you see the Eastern hog that Brian Holt found over in the NPR chat?
I think so. Was it
today?
that one that was all orange and black?
Well,
Or
he
was
had
it
that
an all
one that
black
was
one?
like, it was the all black one.
All black one. Yeah, I know the Easterns, there's some populations that are, very melanistic.
Yeah.
There's an account that I follow on Instagram called like Essex Hognose or something like that. And he's got a YouTube channel and he specializes in some of those Eastern hogs, which is like, gosh, you're a glutton for punishment if you're going for those things because they really like frogs and all these things are hard to get and this and that. But there's a lot of melanistic ones. So yeah, that's badass.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
cool. So I recently found out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, I was just going to say, I recently found out, as in Loafman called me and told me that like almost half the things I thought were colubrids are not. They're colubroids.
Really?
It's this. I'm looking at a chart right now, like dipsadids, like the falsies and all the dipsadid stuff is not a colubrid. It's a colubroid. Like colubrid is a subset of colubroid. Anyway, it's this whole thing.
Really?
And the reason I thought of it is because the tantilla you found is a dipsadid. It's not a colubrid. It's a colubroid.
Huh. Interesting.
Cool stuff. I can send you guys the chart, but
So
Yeah, man.
colubroid is a more general umbrella, and then colubrid is more specific.
is a
branch.
subset of colubroid. Yes.
Interesting.
I didn't know this until like last week.
I didn't know that until right now.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the chart. It's
Awesome.
fun stuff. I just wanted to share.
Wow.
That's really
pretty
interesting.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Eric, you found a colubroid.
Well,
Tantilla.
technically Justin found the
Okay.
tantilla, but yes.
Which it's a dipsadid, just like false water cobras, which is crazy.
Huh. Yeah, I think they were saying that was rear fanged, but it's so
Yes,
small
it is.
that it doesn't. Yeah. Okay.
Well, then that would be why it's a dipsadid, I guess.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
rear fang. I've studied those. I remember when I was getting when I was still at Santa Barbara Zoo, I was working on getting a program started with the Center for Snake Conservation that since has been disbanded trying to get a snake count program going, and I had to put together like a whole thing of all the potential snakes they could find in the area, no matter how unlikely it was.
Mhm.
And the two animals that came up as venomous were obviously Southern Pacific rattlesnakes, and then the little those little tiny blackhead things. And I was like, well, I guess I'll include it in here because I don't want to get in trouble because I omitted the rear fanged little tiny thing that nobody's gonna find. But yeah,
they're cool looking though. Like when I showed one of my coworkers at the biology thing a picture of a blackhead python baby for the first time, he was like, "Oh, it's kind of like Tantilla planiceps." I was like, "What the hell is Tantilla planiceps?"
And now you're obsessed.
Yeah.
Here's something that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is
Coleonyx.
the name?
Coleonyx.
Help me out.
I don't.
Texas.
I don't know.
Geckos.
Texas banded gecko. Okay, so
You want
U.S.
some? I
leopard
can go
gecko.
get you some captive born and bred ones in Roseville right now.
Wow.
Dude,
I'm not kidding.
That's a leopard gecko.
Yes.
Geckos, etc. Steve Sykes, first table I saw walked in. He has a bunch of hognose and king snakes, and he does a lot of leopard geckos and stuff. He had a group of these on the table, little babies, captive born and bred ones, and he also had some female the Cinctus knobtail geckos, but he didn't have any males. If he had a male on the table, I would have grabbed a pair of knobbies.
Yeah, I would.
But yeah, those are on his table. People work with us. They're basically an American leopard gecko.
Robert, I am so confused, Doid.
I'll have to.
I love it.
I have to share this real quick since I talked about it.
But
I did not share this on the.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't need to open that can of worms. That was unnecessary.
Way to go, Lucas.
Oh.
That was the burger.
I'm not a fan of pickles,
bacon.
but after a day of work,
You're not a fan of pickles?
Oh, God,
how dare you,
Riley? It's a gift from the gods, and I'm not even religious.
So, I had my first experience with, and I put this up real quick, and then I thought about it for a second, and I was like, wait, I don't want to be that guy. So I took the picture down, but I'll share it here in the chat. That's the blacktail. That was the first time I really handled the wild rattlesnake.
How was it
pretty
getting that animal on the hooks?
That one wasn't too bad. There was a couple of them that were pretty crazy.
I hear Atrox don't play nice on hooks.
No.
Which is what makes them challenging. Well, one of the things that makes them challenging. I like the challenge of working with animals that'll just like not play with hooks at all. They just don't. They're like, no, I will keep moving on the hook even when you lift me up off the ground. Yeah, I'll climb that up to your hands. That's cool.
This.
Oh man.
Dude, this is the friend of mine. Well, an acquaintance of mine that I went herping with before in PA found this in PA.
Gorgeous. Timber?
Yes. Holy is that not badass?
Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful animals.
I want it.
Yeah.
I'd keep that.
I would
if
just
I
love
was
to
gonna
see
do
it.
a hot, it'd be a crotalus.
Yeah,
man, rattlesnakes we're very fortunate to have those animals in North America. They're just
they're insane.
Oh, dude. Yeah. We saw what 10 Atrox, I think, on the trip. And yeah, it just like rejuvenated my fascination. We also we didn't find this, but we did know people that found this, and this was one of our species that we were sort of looking for, and I would have loved to have seen it in the wild. And there's probably I think this person, we would have found this snake, but the person kind of beat us to it.
Banded rock.
Look at that.
Got yourself a clobber eye.
Yeah, man.
I like
very
banded things.
Those things are so nice. Oh, they're like the alterna of rattlesnakes out there, because depending on the little regions you'll find them in, you'll get some with clean banding, some with the little patches in between, some that are more of a green tint. Like as soon as you start getting further west, you start getting into the Mojave Greens territory, so you get some similar looks. Oh,
yeah, man. And then those horny toad lizards or whatever they're called.
Y'all were catching those left and right when you first got
Dude, they
out
were
there.
everywhere. Yeah, those things are everywhere.
Were they fast?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I kept hearing, like, I got some video, right? And I kept, as we're chasing them around, I just hear that Benny Hill music playing. You know.
I remember my first time seeing one in the wild. I had to like throw the car and park, run out, and like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? And then I saw something move and grab it, and it was like a little California one, so it was like this big, but like,
yeah,
those things are stupid fast.
Yeah, man. So, but
that's awesome.
So we're back. Yeah, I guess maybe this will be our new time. I don't know. We're trying things out.
Yeah, we'll give it a whirl. See how it goes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
my days
to be back.
My days off are Thursdays and Fridays now, so I don't really have a lot of control over that angle of it. So,
well, new thing happened for me when I came back from work is now I get 2 days off a week. I didn't take any kind of pay, whereas I used to work 5.5 days. I don't have to work that half day anymore. They didn't take any money away. I don't have to work any extra hours during the week. So it's kind of like,
nice.
Going to have some more free time. So
that's wonderful.
I may be able to move that to a Thursday and maybe, I don't know.
Well,
whatever.
We will keep everyone posted and we'll roll with it. And
thanks for bearing with us during the transition.
You can absolutely send all your disgruntled emails to me, which I will promptly put in the trash.
Now forward them to Owen.
Yes.
Yeah. Forward the actually put this in the subject matter of each one. Sasquatch told me to. Each one.
We'll have to. Did you? I don't think Riley saw this picture. But I did
was it the one where somebody photoshopped his face on it?
Yeah, did you see that?
It was freaking gold.
Yeah, it's pretty
good. Can you send it to me again so I can save it?
I was cashing it away as a weapon for later.
I want to save it on my phone, too.
It was the night he was giving Lucas a hard time. I was like, it's his usual antics of, your
he said he fired Lucas. And
he fired me yesterday.
Yeah, he fired you again, didn't he?
Don't listen to him. He doesn't have any pull. Nobody listens to him. Love you too, buddy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, man, I can't find it.
As if he listens to us when he's not here. He likes listening to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. True story. True story. But, so I will send it to you so you have some ammunition in case.
Please. I need a shield against Owen.
Yes.
Bing, 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 bing.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Good times. Well, good to be back with you, gentlemen. And I guess
good to have you back.
Yeah.
It's good glad to have these chats back in full action. Glad you had the trip of a lifetime out in Texas. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. Good times. Till next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, if anybody's listening to this, we're going to wrap this up. We thank you for spending some time with us and sticking with the change of schedule on this. If you're listening to this, chances are you probably are very well aware of the NPR network and all of its shows. But if you're not, go check out everything that is Morelia Python Radio at moreliapythonradio.com or .net. Both links will get you there. You can get all of the info, media, downloads, all sorts of stuff. You can check through all the back catalog of NPR on Spotify, and there's like a dozen shows now that we have going under this. Everything from Herpiculture Network, the Australian Herpiculture Podcast, Reptile Fight Club, Colliebrid Corner, Humans of Herpiculture, Field Herping Podcast, you name it. There's something out there. We've got it. So yeah, don't forget to check all the shows out. If you want to support the legacy that Eric and Owen have built over the last decade, there is a Patreon for you to show your support. And there's as little of an increment as you want, $5, $10, whatever you want. There's private monthly Q&A streaming videos for the inland tier at $10 a month. More to come. And don't forget to check out the YouTube channel that we're on right now. Subscribe to that. If you aren't, give this video a like, thumbs up. Go check out all the other videos that we're slowly but surely backlogging on the channel. There's a lot of good content. And if you can't find it, hit any of us up and we'll probably be able to direct you towards the specific episode you're looking for. As for me, you can find me pretty much on anything under Riley's Reptiles or on YouTube as Riley Jimison. And that's all I've got for you. Take it away, Lucas.
Nice. Well done. Well done. Very smooth. If you'd like to get in contact with me, Centralian Exotics on all of the thingies, www.centralianexotics.com.
And last but certainly not least, the greatest Podfather, send us away.
So for if you want to get in touch with me, you can follow me on Facebook, Eric Burke or EB Morelia, and that's that's where I'm at. So
Wunderbar.
ebmorelia.com.
Wunderbar. Cool. Lucas is going to bounce off the walls. Eric's going to go and enjoy.
That's what I do whenever no one's watching.
Hanging in his multiple Australian snake rooms, and I'm going to go sweat 5 pounds off walking down the hallway in this heat.
Riley,
Beautiful.
am I going to spontaneously combust tomorrow in Sacramento? Should I be prepared for that?
Yeah, bring a few wet sponges, put them in bags, leave them in the fridge, sprinkle on yourself every once in a while.
Tie them under your armpits and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Stay away from electrical outputs.
Well, I'll go mentally prepare for that, and everybody have a wonderful
We've got
evening.
500-gallon pools in various enclosures. I'm sure some lizard will let you sit in there if you want to.
Sure. Yeah.
Can't promise
Hopefully
you'll
they
come
haven't
out of
shit
there
in it.
healthy. Yeah, you might come out with an infection.
Hopefully they have.
Yeah.
There might be snacks in there. So
That's right.
All right.
Good.
Well, on that note,
gentlemen.
thank you everyone for listening. Thanks for the chat, y'all, and we'll see everyone next week.
Bye.